Hello, how are you today? Thank you for coming. I hope you can see my beautiful first slide. Since this is a bit odd collection of various sources and their interpretation and vision of high performance, I couldn't come up with a better name than the Mosaic of Wisdom on High Performance. Quick intro, but I hope you all know me. My name is Oksana Bondarchuk. I'm originally Russian. I've been to Australia for the last 15 years. I've been certified Awakened Mind practitioner and trainer, and I am online events moderator. And at the same time, I have background in psychology, and like most of psychologists, I never stop learning. In the last 3 years, I added quite a few new things to my bucket, and surprisingly or not, to some extent, they are all related to energy reading. That's at least how I look at it. So I studied numerology. I'm still a student of astropsychology, and I did a course and I started doing systemic family constellations. Plus now I'm doing a course in karmic constellations, and bits and pieces of it you will see today because I can't keep it all to myself. I hope that most of you had a chance to check previous programs with me that we did in 2024, because today's program is a logical continuation of what we started last year. So we talked about flow state. We talked about relaxation as the first step in Awakened Mind protocol and looked at relaxation from unusual sides and angles. And then we did step 2, theta harmonizers, looking how we can dive deep. How can we find this balance inside? How can we connect with our resources and ensure we are stable and our attention is sustainable? That's all about theta. Today's program could be continuation of theta harmonizers, but it will be more than that. So we'll see. To start with, what is high performance? Because I don't want to limit it by just the flow state. I don't want to limit it by peak performance, what we were talking about during previous programs. So let me say, I'll be looking at the following sides of it. So high performance to me means more conscious. So literally we go to higher expanded states of consciousness. And logically, whenever we go higher, it makes us feel higher. So these states are usually more peaceful. We feel more harmony. At the same time, we feel more power. So we connect with life, love, and ability to create. Creative power is accessible to us as well in those states. High performance logically implies efficiency as well. It is about better organization and minimum effort and minimum waste. And high performance leads to results and success, so we can say high achievements. Let's see what I've prepared about all of this, and there will be about 6, if I'm not mistaken, different sources of information. The first one comes from Philosophical Entertainer. Trust the universe to give you what you need. I'm sure you might have come across this beautiful name and person, Alan Watts. It looks like he has a lot in common with Max Cade because he was British-born American philosopher and he popularized Eastern philosophy in the West. So on the internet, you'll find plenty of information of him talking about the universe, life, love, talking about Zen states and meaning. So I will cite one of his main thoughts. You are not a stranger in this universe. You are a part of it, and it is a part of you. The separation is only in the mind. And I prepared a collection of fragments from one of his speech about what major obstacles we face when we are struggling to reconnect and be more whole and be more efficient and perform higher. Let's watch.
The great Tao flows everywhere, both to the left and to the right. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. And when merits are accomplished, it lays no claim to them. The more, therefore, you relinquish power, trust others, the more powerful you become, but in such a way that instead of having to lie awake nights controlling everything, you do it beautifully by trusting the job to everyone else. And they carry it on for you. So you can go to sleep at night and trust your nervous system to wake you up in the morning. You can even tell it, I want to wake up at 6 o'clock, and it'll wake you up just like an alarm clock. This seems a sort of paradox to say this, but the principle of unity, of coming to a sense of oneness with the whole of the rest of the universe, is not to try to obtain power over the rest of the universe. That will only disturb it and antagonize it and make it seem less one with you than ever. The way to become one with the universe is to trust it as another, as you would another, and say, let's see what you're going to do. But in doing that, you see, in saying that to everything else that you have been taught to think is not you, you are also saying it to yourself. So when we decide, we're always worrying, did I think this over long enough? Did I take enough data into consideration? And if you think it through, you find you never could take enough data into consideration. The data for a decision in any given situation is infinite. So then when you make a decision, and it works out all right, I think very little of it has much to do with your conscious intent and control. But somehow or other, you are able to decide and control things more harmoniously if you delegate authority. That's why very great businessmen are those who can delegate authority. Trust others to work for them. Because those are people developing businesses on the same basic structure that is fundamental to a living organism. Delegation of authority. It loves and nourishes all things, but does not lord it over them. And you see, then, what is happening is this. The more you let go of it and trust it, as if it were quite other than you, the more you realize the inseparable identity of self and other. To go back, if you try to find the identity of self and other by subjecting other to self, no go. If, on the other hand, you find it through giving self, that is control, over to other and trusting that, you may make a mistake. You may make a bad gamble. But in the long run, you're acting on a principle which has the backing of evolution. This is the way biological evolution goes on. Constant delegation of authority. And synergy is the intelligence of a highly complex system. the nature of which is always unknown to the individual members. Because that goes back again to this point, that we're always entering a new environment. We don't ever know fully what the new environment is, because the only environments we know are the past ones. There is always then operating in the development of cellular life on any level a new way of organization, higher than any existing form, and we are not aware of it until after it's happened. It has become the hardest practical politics to let go control to others, to give up trying to dominate the scene. And the principle is that any time you, as it were, voluntarily let up control, in other words, cease to cling to yourself, you have an access of power. Because you're wasting energy all the time in self-defense, trying to manage things, trying to force things to conform to your will. The moment you stop doing that, that wasted energy is available. And therefore you are, in that sense, having that energy available, you are one with the divine principle. You have the energy. When you're trying, however, to act as if you were God, that is to say, you don't trust anybody and you're the dictator and you have to keep everybody in line, you lose the divine energy. Because what you're doing is simply defending yourself. So then, the principle is, the more you give it away, the more it comes back. Now you say, I don't have the courage to give it away. I'm afraid. And you can only overcome that by realizing you better give it away, because there's no way of holding on to it. The meaning of the fact, you see, that everything is dissolving constantly, that we're all falling apart, we're all in a process of constant death, and that the world we hope men set their hearts upon turns ashes, or it prospers, and like snow upon the desert's dusty face, lighting a little hour or two is gone. You know, all that Omar Khayyam jazz. You know, the cloud-capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the great globe itself, I, all which it inherits, shall dissolve, and like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. All falling apart. Everything is. That's the great assistance to you. See, that fact that everything is in decay is your helper. That is allowing you that you don't have to let go, because there's nothing to hold on to. It's achieved for you, in other words, by the process of nature. So once you see that you just don't have a prayer, and it's all washed up, and that you will vanish and leave not a rack behind, and you really get with that, suddenly you find you have the power. This enormous access of energy. But it's not power that came to you because you grabbed it. It came in entirely the opposite way. And power that comes to you in that opposite way is power with which you can be trusted. Of course, what we've been talking about is not so much a set of ideas as an experience, or shall we say experiencing. Because they said you can never know God. God could never become an object of knowledge.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed this piece. It's quite meditative, and I'll share with you all the links. So in case you missed something or the sound quality wasn't good enough, you could catch up. So here is the link, you can see it. And as I said, I personally enjoyed so much watching and listening to Alan Watts. It's very soothing, and his voice is meditative voice that takes you there, and that's really beautiful. So if you liked Alan Watts, And whatever he was saying, I have recordings of the previous Meditation Club series called A Big Call to Mindfulness, where I was sharing exercises and key teachings from Joe Dispenza, Eckhart Tolle, Heart Math Institute. So lots of things I pulled together, and basically in 2 hours you will get mini course of basic ideas plus basic exercises, or at least one proper meditation. The next thing, Brainwaves wisdom. And here I want to talk about efficiency, because I think modern world is absolutely obsessed with peak performance and being efficient. And we run constantly in overstimulating everything. So our physical body and our brain simply struggles to find its way back to self-regulation. So I just want to remind you that if we take a closer look at neurophysiology, and namely at alpha rhythm, alpha brainwaves, we will find that efficient means just right, just enough. Okay, let's see. I'll remind you that you've seen this slide many times probably, and you will see that the main difference between ordinary state, which is this one, and the highest state, which would be this one, would be alpha. So clearly alpha here in the ordinary state is a bottleneck, and it's working and it's dominant in the higher states. So the relationship that we always train is about us trying to take beta, which is represented here in yellow and orange bars. We are trying to calm down our overstimulated beta, our conscious mind, the idea of us as a separate unit of material world with all our memories and projections. We try to connect this beta with our deeper self, or higher self if you like, which I would call theta with the blue. And theta stands for heart, subconscious mind, me as a fractal of spirit, always in the present moment or eternal. And the mediation between the two, between beta and theta, between mind and heart, happens through alpha, through the body bridge, or literally I can call it sense maker. I would like to read an abstract from my book that I'm still trying to put together, which has pieces and bits about energy reading. So here it is, Alpha Consciousness. The mind mirror theory and other practices of reaching resourceful states or peak performance attribute the leading role to the alpha rhythm. It is also written about as the rhythm of geniuses, highly effective and creative people, the rhythm of relaxed concentration in meditation. If you dig deeper, according to science, the alpha rhythm is indeed the dominant rhythm in the brain of a healthy adult, setting the tone for all other rhythms. It stems from the very center of the brain, from the thalamus, which, like the telephone operator in the old days, transmits calls, signals from the external and internal environments to the brain and back. And by the way, here to the right on the picture, you can see these connections to the front and to the back of the brain. The most important thing in its work, the very key to the effectiveness of the brain, is to filter out what is important or unimportant, timely or untimely, or appropriate or inappropriate in the current situation. If a person is traumatized or stressed, they are either wedged or chaotic and unable to discriminate. So alpha makes this discrimination possible, and that's what we call consciousness or being conscious. And we develop alpha by the age of 10. And I told or gave this example a few times. That's when a child can start crossing the street, because finally they can make good decisions. They can see the distance and time and put all the things together into one formula and figure out how to do it safely. I believe that this is another excellent analogy of our internal structure or physiology, which reminds us how important this flexibility of attention and balancing of what is inside and outside is. And paradoxically, we might think that efficiency would mean to transmit more and faster, but in fact, it would mean to transmit just the right amount when it is needed at speed so that it would be received and processed with the minimum of waste. So the universe is very efficient and very economical in terms of energy as well. And Alpha is a good example of that. In short, I never cease to be amazed by the efficiency of our internal structure, especially when it comes to the transfer of energy or information, which is why I'm interested in psychophysiology and neurofeedback. The main thing here is not just a lot quickly and with a constant rhythm, but rather the ability to flexibly change speeds. That means to be in a state of rest, to accumulate energy, keep attention open, and to act accurately when the moment has come with the least energy consumption. That means along the line of least resistance. And it does sound very much like a state of flow, non-action or being, when everything seems to happen by itself without effort. Mathematicians of the Heart, or the HeartMath Institute, are also talking about the same thing. The most important thing in the work of the heart is the ability to speed up and slow down, and the higher the amplitude, the healthier our heart is, and the more balanced our nervous system is. So this is an indicator that the mind, body, soul are in creative harmony. You embrace and transmit more life, breathe in deeply in the literal and figurative sense. If you like this little abstract, I decided to start my Telegram channel, and I'm sharing and will share more abstracts from my book in there. I'll share this link with you in a follow-up email, so you're welcome to join. Here, the most unusual bit for today, singing high notes. And if you remember during, I think, previous program, Theta Harmonizers, we get to go through this shift register between chest sound and head sound, and very much our brainwaves look like this pitch, right? Beta brainwaves stand for our existence in material world. On the one hand, they're the fastest, on the other hand, they're the heaviest, the densest, so to say. And theta would stand for our heart and soul and provide the support. You remember how we were talking that the relaxation and finding this support is the first step. And look what this singing teacher will say. Look at it metaphorically. I'm not trying to teach you singing here, but I'm trying to make you think and extrapolate what he will be saying to your everyday life and to our brain or mind functioning. So let's see.
How to hit high notes, or how to sing high notes. This has to be one of the most misunderstood, elusive concepts in all of singing. And the internet is filled with misinformation, bad information, crazy information, but the proof is in the singing. I was told that my highest note as a baritone, which is what I am, is this note right here. That note right there was my highest note. So I relegated myself to that for years, thinking that's all I get. I get that note. On a really good, yeah! On a good note, I get the G sharp, but the F sharp 4 was my highest note. And I was told by many bel canto coaches, don't go beyond that, you're gonna hurt yourself. That was absolutely false. I could sing in these different ranges, and there's a lot of misunderstanding about how to get to a high note. So there's a psychological aspect to this, but there's also a physiological aspect to this too. Let me explain. The first thing is if we over sing the bottom, or sing low notes, the bottom, too loudly, too heavy, it locks down your vocal folds, and it locks down the larynx, I should say, and it inhibits your ability to have the freedom to relax, to go to get the note. Now, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. It wasn't until I gave myself permission to hit the note that I was able to hit the note. I want to give you one quick example. I've given this example before, but it's worth giving this example again. If you've noticed in all of athletics, records keep getting broken over and over again, right? I mean, all of a sudden, Usain Bolt is the fastest guy in the world, and then someone beats his record. But when Usain Bolt came out, no one ever thought anyone could possibly beat his record. This is true with Tiger Woods in golf. This is true in pretty much any discipline like that. So I was coaching this, I think it was it was an 8 and 9-year-old soccer kids. One is my son. It was an AYSO goal team. We're doing tryouts. And there was a standard size football goalpost. So the soccer box is underneath it and the goalposts are above it. And then, got the standard size soccer box. They're about the same size. And so these kids were so cute and they're trying to like kick the ball into the field goal, but none of them can do it. Really, none of them, including my son, which was kind of strange. And so I walk over and I put my foot under the ball and I chip it and I just slam it right through these goalposts. And they're like, whoa. Well, guess what? Of the 21 or 22 kids that were there, every single one of them was able to do it except one after they saw me do it. After they gave themselves permission to be able to see themselves to do it. I'm not trying to get all metaphysical and weird on you guys. Trust me. I'm just talking about the psychology of singing. It's really important because you want to know how to hit the high note. Well, the other thing is too, so I'm not going to be terrified of the high note. I've learned that it's about correct support, a relaxation response in the chest, so I'm not tightening up the chest, the neck, I'm not tightening up the neck, and the throat. And I'm not like getting all bound up to give it all. Like I'm not looking up either because that cuts off the trachea and your wind supply. So people, you look up and that's how you get these notes. No, absolutely not. I give myself permission to get the note, okay? Now you're probably saying, okay, Ken, I've heard you've talked a lot. How do I actually do this? Glad you asked. Let's do this together. Stop everything. Don't sing the bottom so heavy. Even if you have a break, you can hear the register break. I want you to roll into falsetto for a minute. Hang in there. You're going to say, well, Ken, that's not really, I want to belt and get a belted chest sound. I know. I'm going to get to that. Hold on. I want you to roll into head voice with me. Notice I'm not going, I'm not killing you with sound. I'm being very judicious and very subtle on how much volume I'm using so I can get through my passaggio break without hearing the break. Okay. If you noticed, I went all the way up here with all muscling through and pulling my chest voice through this sound and getting all this crazy and just, and killing you with sound. Okay. Because we start here. This is where we start. We start by giving ourselves permission to feel what it's supposed to feel like when I do hit that high note, how I'm supposed to hit that high note without strain, without stress, even if I'm gonna lean into a sound and hit it really hard and sing a higher note, that note itself, with no distortion, so that's both, right? That note should feel open, relaxed, and free in the throat. And it should be pinched and squeezed to go up and grab the note. Now, what happens? This is what happens. The body starts to have this cascading effect of tension. It kind of starts in the legs and it goes in the stomach and you're thinking, oh my gosh, here comes the note, here comes the note. Oh no, am I gonna get to the note? And we blow chunks and we don't get to the note. But what if I told you, I feel like one of those memes on Facebook, what if I told you? What if I told you though, it's not about the high note at all. It's about strength in the abdomen, the engine that drives your car to sustain the note, the relaxation response in the chest, the neck, and the throat, and correct vowel placement. Then if you go, hey, yeah, or anything in between, whatever it is, right? What if I told you that getting to that note was about kind of in your mind seeing the note, knowing what vowel it's supposed to be, and we've talked about vowel mods, we've talked about vocal tract shaping. I've given you all these videos and I cover all of this thoroughly in my singing course, but that note was about, oh, that's what the vowel is supposed to sound like. This is the space I'm supposed to have in my throat, and I just give myself permission to hit that note. Now, yes, there's a training process. Yes, I've got to build stamina up to that note. Yes, I've got to remember not to oversing the bottom. Yes, I've got to remember not to pull too much chest through the passaggio and the sound. But here's what we do. First, we strengthen the foundation of our voice, which is our chest voice, to buttress or build a foundation to hold up the walls that we want to put up, the different vowels, the different notes, etc., as we ascend and descend scales and passages and songs, etc. But that this building of the chest voice starts first. Okay, we start building the chest voice first. Don't worry about your high notes yet. Let's build the foundation, strong foundation. Then we build our head voice. Big, robust, powerful head voice to match the tonal qualities of our chest voice. So they're going to be right, the same sound. And the only thing at that point that's left is negotiating the passaggio, the register break. That yellow. And getting through that passaggio to give us one long, powerful note. The final thing then is taking that passaggio and making it nice and strong so we can sing percentages of our chest voice and our head voice, what is called mixed voice, or mixing that sound. So we can pull chest through that sound a little bit, then hand it off to head. We can bring in head voice a little earlier if we're looking for more of an R&B sound. We're not looking to shout at people, sing too loudly, and we don't want to sing too loudly. We covered this in our vowel modifications video. We want to pare the sound down and make it smaller so we're not over singing or singing too loudly and just shouting at people. We want it to be beautiful. Anyway, gang, this is how you hit high notes.
So I hope you enjoyed this fragment, and I also hope that you clearly can see the analogy. So chest voice can be compared to our theta brainwaves, which provide a solid foundation that we have to start with. And beta in this case would represent high pitch note that we are trying to reach, or this high efficiency note, which requires lots of energy resources that we can't obtain unless, as he said, we build solid walls, solid foundation for it. And passaggio, it's this switch that allows for a smooth transition from chest voice to head voice, can be compared to alpha, which, as we know, allows to regulate how much attention or energy goes internally and externally, and connects the two and makes us more flexible, right? And extends our range, extends our capacity, and brings this wholeness. And altogether, we don't want to look like we are pushing ourselves in ordinary pattern, just training ourselves. We want our song to be beautiful on every level. So that was fun fragment. And by the way, permission, that's one of the words. Permission, relaxation, and support. Alpha also goes for relaxation, because when you are stiff, when you're strained, you can't be flexible. So your switch doesn't work very well. Your gearbox doesn't work very well. So about permission and resource, I'm not going to talk in detail about it today, but I want to draw your attention again, sorry, for my Telegram channel, because there I shared a program on ESP, Become Your Own Psychic and Killer with constellation techniques, where I was sharing the information that I absolutely loved about levels of consciousness, because working with the mind mirror, we mainly look at individual level of consciousness, or what we think is just individual level of consciousness. But in reality, we have a strong influence, or we still carry in our theta family or ancestry programs, our country or culture programs, archetypal, the whole humanity programs. We are part of this nature and part of this earthly reality. And then the ultimate level, obviously, of consciousness would be the source level. And we carry a fractal of spirit within us too. So I speak more about this there, because our individuality, our beta, our performance largely is based on what we inherited on every possible level, be it your inheritance in the form of any material essence or in the form of DNA and genes that you inherited. But equally, I mentioned that before, we inherit their programs and their successful survival models, so to say. In some cases they work and it's a great contribution to our success. In some cases they become irrelevant and they block us, and sometimes we can't find this permission to do things, or for example to become rich, because our family has a story where someone was killed when he got rich and all the money was stolen. Here, another picture shows that the flow of energy, again, the theory of systemic family constellations will say the energy always flows in one direction, from your parents towards you and from you towards your children. And there is this law of precedence. So whoever walked this earth before us is giving to us. And if I apply the same rule to our brainwaves, we'll find that delta shows up first. Kids are sleeping lots, and that's the brainwaves of growth and active growth and deep sleep. And then theta, we speed up, and then alpha, and then beta. So fast, and as I said, energy consuming beta will require the resources to run. And these resources, this support, this stable foundation, once again, I'll remind you, it comes from theta and the field, from your family, country, cultural, humanity level, and beyond. And the switch, the gear that allows, open up the valve and allows that to come in would be your alpha. Okay, so if you want more, again, I'll share that with you. Now, another interesting fragment from quantum healing. I can't say I know it all very well, but I'm just learning, and I was fascinated with this method because while studying constellations, one of my teachers integrated quantum healing into his constellation method. There is no one style of constellation. It's, for those who don't know, this is short-term therapy that looks like when you invite other people to play roles and stand for certain ideas or people in your psyche to see what the relationships are, what the dynamic is, and why the things are not working or the order is confused. And we try to rearrange these relationships or ideas, concepts, and bring things back to order. Okay, so quantum healing, connecting with pure awareness. So this will be based on the teachings of Frank Kinslow. He is American chiropractor originally, teacher of the deaf, doctor of clinical spiritual counseling, and author. So he wrote a book and established Kinslow's system with quite a few techniques. And he describes the quantum shift, which literally, same thing, we are trying to switch from our mind to go beyond the mind, because he would say our minds are corrupt. How can they fix themselves or what's going on? We have to go beyond that level to find a fix, to go to that level that self-regulates. And quantum shift is required. So quantum shift is a profound change in consciousness, where one moves from common everyday awareness to a high state of consciousness. This shift involves connecting with what he calls pure awareness and experiencing you feeling. It's tricky to say because in Russian it sounds a bit different. It's like euphoria, it comes from that word. So what is pure awareness? Most people don't even know they have pure awareness, much less that it is their essential nature. It is more intimate to us than our families, our jobs, and even our health. For without pure awareness, we would have none of these things. It is pure awareness that makes it possible for us to feel, to think, to perceive, and to experience life in all its vibrant beauty. Pure awareness is our very essence. In our daily life, pure awareness has remained hidden. It works behind the scenes, breathing life into life itself. When we become aware of pure awareness, we tune into the actual lifeblood of creation. So the trick here is that it's such an obvious thing that is always underlying everything, that it's really hard to, you don't have to look anywhere, you don't have to go anywhere. You have just peel off everything, all distractions and all the noise that prevents you from connecting with it. You do not exist without awareness. quantum entrainment doesn't depend on your mind, but on your awareness. When we perceive through pure awareness, it gives us the truest, most vibrant reflection of life. It frees us from having to struggle to see life clearly. It gives us the best chance for appreciating the world within which we live. Again, it may be looked like there is some word speculation and every author tries to invent their own vocabulary to explain same things. So I'll leave it up with you, and later we'll do a little exercise with him. Your feeling, again, it comes from euphoria, is the natural state of healthy human awareness characterized by feelings of peace, joy, love, and bliss. It is the first glimmer of individuality in the mind and can be experienced as a sense of well-being, lightness, or expansion. Naturally, when you think that you feel bad because it's a judgment, there is always this underlying feeling of well-being, and it can be accessed as well. In his book, he gives this definition of fully human. Again, when we reconnect all the levels of our being and go beyond the mind, we regain wholeness, right? The fully human person in certain moments perceives the unity of the cosmos, fuses with it, and rests in it, completely satisfied for the moment in his yearning for one. Basically, his main teachings will be working with the body as an indicator of how relaxed you are and indicator of shift, because usually even if we are working on physical symptom or mental symptom, it doesn't matter. We can find and use our body as a map to track the change, find the baseline, what's the status when we start, and how relaxed and soft we become when we finish. And his technique will teach you to go about expectation without judgment, with full trust. Again, you go there and you just know there is this force behind everything. And if you allow yourself with full trust to connect with that force, all you need is just sit there and watch the change and healing taking place. So that's in short. And instead of wasting time, I want to share with you his gate technique. So it's freely available on his website, and I hope you will enjoy it. Sort of a 15-minute meditation. I hope we still have time to do it. So it is designed to help individuals access deeper states of consciousness and achieve the quantum shift in awareness, because that's the key thing. How do we get there? It involves focusing on specific word or concepts such as peace, joy, unboundedness, compassion, all of these spacious and high words, and observe them without interference. So the practice promotes relaxation, inner peace, and heightened sense of well-being. I'll start playing with it, so be patient and remember, when we do this exercise, treat it as a meditation. So slow down and simply enjoy it, follow the commands without worry and hurry. Worry and hurry will mean your brain and mind is trying to go back to usual state. We have usual state enough. Let's take these 15 minutes to try to shift, or at least feel, I don't know, the glimpse of what it might be to connect with this pure awareness.
Hi, this is Frank Kinslow, developer of the Quantum Entrainment process, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to the gate technique. The gate technique will invite you to spend more quality time with yourself. It is a closed eyes technique that will open your eyes to finding yourself. When done regularly, it will have profound effects on every aspect of your life: mind, emotions, body, and environment. Now I'd like to talk you through your first experience of the gate technique. So find yourself a nice comfortable chair and allow yourself 15 uninterrupted minutes. Don't forget to put the cat or dog out of the room and turn off the ringer on the phone. Okay, now settle in. Sit down and close your eyes. Let's have our eyes closed and the mind not worrying about anything. Just let the mind wander wherever it wants to go. If you know some other techniques, don't do them. If you think you can help in some way by trying to be relaxed or something, don't do anything. Just let the mind wander. Wherever it goes, that's fine. Paying attention to your thoughts, just watching them pass by. And we'll do this for just a few seconds. Now listen. One of these words will stand out in your awareness more than the others. Peace, joy, unboundedness, compassion, love, infinity, light, space, humility, grace, one of these words will have been more vibrant in your consciousness than the others. Just let your awareness go back to that word and watch it, or if you hear it, just listen to it. You need do nothing else but to watch or to listen to that word. Don't interfere with it. As you watch your word, it can get faster. It can kind of fade away. It can change in many, many ways. However it changes, whatever it wants to do, you allow it to do so. You're just along for the ride. You're just watching what your word wants to do. At times, you may forget your word, and other thoughts may enter in. That's fine. As soon as you realize you're thinking other thoughts, then you just easily go back to the word and observe it. Just be the simple, innocent witness of that word. Sometimes your word may disappear altogether, and that's fine too. You don't have to make it come back. It'll come back on its own. Your word can even change into another word. That's fine. Whatever it does, let it go. Remember, you're just there to watch. You are truly just a witness. And if so, if other thoughts or noises interject, you just witness them as well. Once they come in, don't be dismayed that they're there. Don't try to fight with other thoughts or noises or sensations in your body. They're there fine. Whenever you realize that you're uncomfortable or that there's a noise going on, or you're aware of some thoughts that are not your word, then you're already on your way back to your word. That's becoming aware. That's being a witness again. And that's good. All you have to do is go back and find your word. Whenever your word is not there, you just easily come back to it. That's it. That's just how simple it is. Now, again, just let your mind easily wander wherever it wants to go. If the word stays with you, fine, but you're not interested in it now. We're about ready to come out of the gate technique, but we don't get right up. Keep the eyes closed for a couple of minutes, a minute or two. You can stretch a little bit, wiggle your fingers, take a deep breath. This will help to make the transition. And when it's time to open the eyes, just do it slowly. Okay, easily let the eyes open. You can do the gate technique for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, 2 or 3 times a day as you like. Best is first thing in the morning and somewhere halfway through the day. And it can be done before going to bed as long as it's not too energizing and keeps you awake. Many times you'll find just to become relaxed and slip into a very nice, nourishing sleep. Now, the words are often referred to as you feelings or you words, EU words, meaning that they're not negative words. So any word that comes up of a positive nature is fine, And that can be anywhere from those words that we mentioned, or it can be silence or stillness, peace, joy, bliss, ecstasy. Those are the you feelings. And any words that remind you of that, invoke those feelings within you. So the word is not important. What is important is your complete uninvolvement while you watch. Simply, easily be the witness of the word as it comes and goes. So, to review, as you watch your you feeling, it may change in some way. It may get bigger or louder or fade away. It could change into another you feeling or disappear altogether. Or your mind may shift to other thoughts, or you may start listening to sounds coming from around you. You may even forget that you are doing the gate technique for a while. If this happens when you realize you are not watching your you feeling, you have already started paying attention again. Just continue to watch your you feeling without interfering. Or you can gently look for another you feeling and begin the process all over again. It doesn't matter what happens as long as you purely observe. That is, that you are alert to what is unfolding before you. The thing is to watch what happens no matter what is going on. That is all you have to do. Continue the gate technique for 10 to 15 minutes. When finished, do not open your eyes quickly or jump up and start doing things right away. Keep your eyes closed. Take another minute or two to stretch and come back to the outside world slowly. Then slide easily back into your active life. Physically, you will be relaxed, possibly more relaxed than you have been in a long time. Psychologically, you will be at peace. And what did you do to get this way? Nothing. Just observe. Pay attention to what was unfolding in your mind. The gate technique teaches us to rely on nothing other than observation. What happens is quite magical. A deep healing begins without a glimmer of effort. Actually, effort of any kind is counterproductive. What the gate technique effectively does is bathe your psyche in the healing waters of self. Self knows best. When done regularly, you will experience greater energy, physically and psychologically, more relaxation, less illness, more resistance to mental and emotional stress, and improved relationships. All this is accomplished by simply paying attention. Very quickly, you will notice that you are observing more and more outside of the gate technique as you go about your daily life. The gate technique is perfect by itself, or it can be added to the beginning of other practices to enhance their effectiveness. It can be performed from 10 to 50 minutes, once or twice a day. Done daily, it will quickly establish the habit of observing in activity.
Please come back, and I just want to remind that paying attention and non-attachment to result is really important, because when we hold on to something, to expectation or result, we are still blocking the process. So this is a very simple and beautiful technique, and I hope you pick the word that you resonated most with. I may advise you to write it down for yourself or make a mental note for later. That will be your landmark to the higher state. Okay, if you liked the style of what and how we are doing, I have recordings of the previous Meditation Club series. And there was one called Healing, where we deal with healing forgiveness, where we look at healing love. Okay, so there we go. Another unusual source, channeled book. I'm not sure what your relationship is with channeling and with that far-out esoteric books, but I do like them because I do find there is profound knowledge there. I'm trying not to judge, but see, how can I apply it to practice? Is it practical? Does it make sense? And you'll be surprised how many things actually make sense from this book. This book will be talking about awakening protocols to fifth dimensional consciousness. So we are going high, we are talking high performance. Okay, let's see. So this is the book I'm talking about. It's the book Tell Us, the third book from the series by Aurelia Louise Jones, who channeled this book and promoted the teachings about the people of Tellus and Lemuria. And then I will give you the citations or the key thoughts in this book expressed about the mind and the heart. So the mind's role and function. The mind is the house of questions designed to study and analyze. It is a tool of the third dimension, originally created to assist the heart by gathering information. The mind's limitations. The human mind, driven by the human ego, is quick to deny the magical and intuitive aspects of existence. It is governed by fears, misconceptions, and the consciousness of separation, which limits its understanding. The mind tries to make you believe that the path to higher consciousness is very difficult and complicated, often creating barriers to simplicity and trust. The human mind and the divine mind are two different things. While the divine mind represents universal consciousness with no limitations, the human mind is constrained by the ego and its fears. The mind cannot be turned off. It exists for a purpose and is part of your wholeness, including the physical body's own mind. Okay, so that was brilliant. And then more on the heart. The heart is the library of answers. So you remember the beginning of the previous slide. The mind is a place for questions, right? And collection of information and analysis. So the heart is the library of answers, the seat of inspiration and the center of divine wisdom, love, and intuition. It holds the true inspiration for all that is around you and is connected to the divine mind. The heart, not the mind, knows everything and holds all the keys. It holds these amazing memories and already knows the shortest path to spiritual freedom through ascension. The heart has its own emotional intelligence. It receives and records all that impacts it and operates on a frequency that is open and receptive to all possibilities. So you remember expectations and judgments and prejudice. This fact cannot be overemphasized. The heart trusts, and it knows the simplest path, even when the mind tries to make it seem difficult. So clearly now we know the answers. So only the heart can do it. And I really want to address it because I think that's very relevant citation. The information, this is real citation from the book, and I want you to tune in because it does hold a very nice healing energy behind it. That's at least how I feel it. The information has been provided to the people of Earth many times, and it has been repeated again and again over the years by different writers and through different channels. It has been presented to you in different packages, colors, and with varying levels of complexity, but you still cannot recognize it. In fact, you're under a barrage of a huge amount of information coming through the books you read, the seminars and conferences you attend. For many of you to this day, this remains just information that your brain is unable to absorb and process. Only the heart can do this work, not your brain. We hope that if we repeated it often enough, at some point the knowledge would finally fall on fertile ground and you would be able to restore the frequency. So I point your attention, restore the frequency. That's what we are talking about, not piling up the information. We have often repeated that ascension doesn't require any complex manipulations. It is simply the realization that you are living the life of God-Goddess, which you essentially are. You must always remember this, accept it and strive for it. This means fully accepting the divinity that is always present within you. And a few more little citations that I will comment and mention brainwaves while commenting. The magic you once knew. If you strive to do these things again, it means that your heart is now ready to reconnect on a more conscious level with that aspect of you that embodies the level of love and pure innocence. So in some way, what we call pure awareness can be called pure innocence, because we are stripping the layers and layers off. And in terms of brainwaves development, we're literally going backwards to where we were when we were born, right? We go to the source energy, to the field. Allow me to say more. Usually, you reconnect in telos with this aspect of yourself at night during sleep. Very often, when Adama looks for you at night, he usually finds you next to lions and tigers, unicorns and horses, or good fairies. I found this amazing because I keep saying everybody is looking for higher state, but in some ways, and most of the time, we expect or seek something extraordinary. And to me, the big revelation was that it's not extraordinary. It's actually something that we inherently have, and these are the states we naturally travel during our sleep. So a little bit more about brainwaves. During our sleep or REM sleep, when we are seeing dreams, our theta and delta become the active brainwaves in sleep as well as in channeling. So I found this a good confirmation of that. Another citation: unite with your higher self. Live as your heart dictates. Speak and act as your teachers would. Always ask yourself, what would the teacher say or do in this situation? Find the answers in your heart. If you cannot find them, take a piece of paper and pencil, light a candle if you wish, and write down your intention to find the answer within yourself. Your higher self is always waiting and ready to help you. Establish a connection with your higher self. Unite with it and fulfill your divine plan. Ascension is the merging, the entry into the divine union with your majestic higher presence, your higher self. It is quite obvious that you need to establish contact with your higher self so that this aspect becomes your closest friend. How can you unite for ascension with your high aspect if you are not familiar enough with it, have not been interested in it, have not spent time with it to understand and know it? I just want to make a quick comment here, because that workshop on ESP that I mentioned with regards to different levels of consciousness and the direction of how energy flows and where to find support and foundation, during that same workshop I shared a beautiful exercise where you can step or sit as your life companion or as your spirit guide, or you may sit even as your higher self. And I explain and teach techniques how to tune in and how to connect. And so far I found this is an amazing tool. If you really need to switch your mind, this is the fastest way to go to high frequencies and feel this unconditional love and acceptance and support and inspiration. Plus, of course, you may find some practical advice about your daily problems. So I'll continue. Abandon the consciousness of separation of the third dimension, duality, polarity, and drama in all its manifestations. Stop believing in two forces, let them go, and renounce the illusions of the third dimension that you so adore. Allow yourself to let go of everything you have learned for so long, but that has not brought results. Be ready to learn anew. Have the courage to step into a new reality of love and magic. Realize that love is the only true force and begin to live on this new frequency, radiating it from your heart into the surrounding space. That you owe to life. Understand the principle of do not harm. Respect the sanctity of all life forms that share this planet with you. Respect the divine rights of every person. Free yourself from all beliefs that govern your life and all the negative emotions that you store in your conscious and subconscious memory. Deal with your debts, which you feel you owe to life. And this is a big phrase for me again, because, again, doing family constellations, I learned that having arguments with our parents. We actually argue with life itself, because in some ways, although being imperfect humans, they were the channels of divine life, right, to us. The way to resolve and reconnect can be done in many ways. Sometimes you feel that heavy debts from the past are dragging behind you, and you begin to think that you have heavy karma. This is an obsessive idea that nothing can be done about it. A certain stagnation is created in your emotional body, which blocks your aspiration to balance these debts. You feel their unsurmountability, and you don't even try to figure out what's what. When a person believes that their debts will be lightened, and they can connect with the spirit, gradually freeing themselves from them, cleansing themselves with the sacred fire, they create a flow of refreshing joy that fills their entire being. The feeling of joy within your consciousness tends to create flexibility in the ring of energy that contains all the records of your debts, relieves tension in the ring, and allows you to move forward more freely, easily, and simply through all the initiations. So something like, this is your family karma, or this is just your character, and that's how your mother was, your father was, that's just the way things are. All these usually are distortions, and we have to sort these things out. Okay, sacred communion with the soul. Your soul holds all your emotions and experiences. Use it as a gateway to your divine self. Meditate on the idea that your soul is the bridge between your physical self and your higher self. As you connect with your soul, you may uncover deep emotional wounds. Heal this by forgiving yourself and others. If you want more, this is absolutely brilliant book, and you'll surprise that some of its exercises will remind you heart math, quick coherence technique, and breathing and visualization, meditation, so many things. So I prepared a file and I'll share it with you with the summary, because it's literally a protocol with practices of how to lift yourself to high vibration. I just want to remind that for those who did my favorite meditations course with me, we did beautiful, even couple of meditations about connecting with your higher self. So I advise you to revisit it or buy it. I added it to the main page. And then if you're interested in clearing up some of the debts with life or family heritage, which is dysfunctional, I am introducing a couple of more things I'm doing besides the mind mirror, so you're welcome to explore more. I call it Energy Reading Lab, and we'll be doing workshop where you work for yourselves. I give you exercises and you work individually for yourself. And then Energy Reading Circle, where we read for each other and help to disclose what may be malfunctioning. And starting with the baseline, your relationship with yourself, and understanding, of course, where judgment expectation comes from and how to let go. And karmic constellations gave me a good idea, actually, and great experience of seeing the soul perspective firsthand. So later in March, I will do the same workshop and Energy Reading Circle, where we will be working on karmic issues or checking difficult relationships from this soul perspective. You'll be amazed how it works. That's amazing. Or just seek more. That can be done, right? That can be healed. One more, I want to share with you success algorithm, or actually notes on productivity from my teacher of astropsychology. As you can see on the slide, you can see how it will likely be. When we set a goal and when we achieve it, we usually imagine it as a straight line and see it in a linear fashion and get very frustrated and upset when something doesn't work right. But the reality is more like this wavy line, and I absolutely loved it when I came across it, because yes, in initial stage we are inspired, we started, and then we start doubting, can I do it? Am I doing the right thing? Or am I doing it right? And then you get your first mistakes, sometimes horrible mistakes. and then you get your learnings, and then you fail again, and then you keep practicing, then you get lost, then you finally start getting it, then you may find yourself struggling because you may be losing your motivation or energy resource, and then finally you reach the stage where you achieve it. So this is normal, and that's better not to get too many illusions about life. It's doesn't work in a straight linear fashion the way our mind wants to look at it. Okay, so here just a quick reminder that the minimum waste and maximum effort comes when you follow your nature, you follow your individual nature, and you follow bigger nature, bigger cosmic events, political events, economic events. It works on every level. So your task is to know yourself and to know what's going on around you. So astrology, along with numerology, provides hidden codes to help you decipher your true nature, your core values, motives, talents, life scenarios, and even better understand your inner conflicts, and stop hoping that it will be a smooth ride for you like for your neighbor. Maybe not. Your neighbor will have his set of problems, but you are just wired this way, having these internal conflicts. Not only can you gain a better understanding of yourself through an instruction manual for yourself, which is a dream, right? But you can also project into the future to see if it aligns with larger trends. Contrary to common belief, progress towards your goals is not linear, and that's what I just explained. Pavel Andreev is contemporary astrologer and co-founder of Lev Life School of Astrology, and he suggests few keys to optimize your performance or your productivity. Let's start with generic ones. This is his algorithm for success. Ensure that this is 100% yours, your desire and passion. Just a quick comment. We do not realize how much inherited subconscious programs are driving us. What we think, it's just me and my desire, it's more likely to be some almost like limiting belief program asking for resolution from the past, either your family system or your own karmic, or usually it's a blend of both. And then, of course, you need your passion, because the foundation should be based on your values. You have to have solid foundation to keep going and sustain enough interest in what you are striving for. So focus on the positive. When we set the goals or dream, we need to make it positive and never talk in negative terms, because universe doesn't recognize negations. We will attract negation, and that's why our biggest fears usually come true, because we keep sending their energy, we keep thinking about it, we keep focus on the fear. Wait, the result won't come, won't let you wait too long, because you keep thinking about it. That means feeding with your attention, with your energy. Then avoid quick and ideal results. And that's probably the whole modern world is full of these promises, 3 days, instant healing. In some cases it does work, but that when we are ready for this quantum shift. Otherwise we'll still be holding on to the past. And then, I don't know, learn to fly the airplane by Skype in half an hour. So that's the promises we get, and results, the first results are likely not to be ideal. So again, it's good to know that. And what I fell in love with, it's this flow. Keep testing. So how our process normally works, look at the chart to the right, this one. So we've come up with hypotheses that we want this and that's how it's supposed to work. Then we run a test. Then we usually make mistakes. Then we collect our learnings and then come up with new hypotheses. And the more iterations of this we run, the better experts we become. So it's not about expecting a linear, steady progress. It's very unlikely. This is the realistic picture, and to gain really good results, he says we need to work consistently for about 10,000 hours doing the same thing to become an expert in it. Then give yourself time to reach full efficiency, and remember, we don't start our day efficiently or any task efficiently, we need at least 20 minutes to warm up and get into it. The slow tuning process is required for us to get to maximum efficiency. And then the working capacity from person to person is different, because some can run for hours and others can do 50 minutes and they'll need to switch and do something else. So we all are different, but if we reach efficiency, we need to make sure that we have at least blocks of time when we are not interrupted and we can run high and avoid all sorts of distractions, notifications, people, social media, phones, whatnot, and even distractions with our own irrelevant thoughts, and overload with maybe problems that we've been trying to come true in the last 3 years. If we're still dreaming that one day it will happen, usually this is a stale project, just drop it off. Then rotate intake, process, output activities. So the best metaphor is food. When you eat, then you digest, and then there's output. Same on the mental level with all the information, for example. We need to juggle the activities and give enough time for all activities, because if we keep stuffing ourselves with more and more information without processing it, it doesn't lead to anywhere, right? It will be poor outcome. So it's good to have, again, blocks of time. Sometimes we may talk about minutes, certain time for learning, and then sharing it, giving it away. So it's not packing up. That's why I'm sharing. You may, I don't know, study 20 days and then teach 10 days, or still you have to juggle and make sure all activities are present. And then, of course, understand and activate the energies of the planets, because astrology looks at the planets as the energies that we channel, the energies of different frequency and quality required for certain functions of our psyche, or responsible for even sometimes certain events in our life. So here I go to the next slide. And in our previous programs, we already talked, for those who are interested in astrology, that could be a good hint to revisit your natal chart and see what's your best way to relax and recharge. And the moon and its sign and house will give you ideas of what it is about. We did that during our relaxation program. I provided the manual where you could, at least from the first sight, you can say a few things about your best way to relax and recharge, because again, we are all different. Our unique spirit spark, or if our desires are real, we can check with the sun. Same story, sign and house where the sun sits. Our values that will keep us afloat on the non-linear path to the goal, that's our Jupiter. And see if there are any problems with the Jupiter, by the way. Excessive self-criticism may come from there if you have some problems or negative aspects, or your Jupiter is stressed in the chart. How to take the first step and exercise willpower. That's about procrastination, wasting time, and not being able to start new things. When you need exercise your willpower and do it, just do it. Go and do it. Get up and do it. That's Mars. Again, stressed Mars can be a problem, and astrology provides the answers of what you can do to ease the stress and help yourself exercise your willpower. How to deal with routine tasks and more, of course, your intellect and interaction with the world in general, that's Mercury. How to make plans, manage time, and find support, that's Saturn. That's basically your guide to the earthly realm, where is your main support, foundation, or social realization. What to do in times of crisis. Pluto can give you advice how your personal recipe would be to fix when you find yourself not just making a mistake, but it's really serious mistake. You're really somewhere in the hole and you need to get out. So depending where your Pluto sits, in which house, the resources for solution may be there. And then where and how the world is ready to see you. Basically, this is your social repping. So it's like key to lock. if you pretend you're somebody else and not play according to, how to say, the dress, the mask you were given by nature, which is your ascendant. That's the beginning of the first house in your natal chart, the sign. The universe wants you to see a certain way, right? And if you are not performing this way, you will be simply unseen, unrecognized, and unsupported. On the contrary, if you know that, for example, I'm forever student and a teacher, and that's what my first house and ascendant will tell you. So if I'm doing this, the universe helps me. I am recognized and I gain support. So feel free to explore internet for tons of ways to build your natal chart and find interpretations. This is the app that I'm using. And again, I invite you to follow me in Telegram channel, because I have a set of questions that I want to test, find maybe 3 to 5 people and have in-depth interviews about all these questions that I just mentioned, about your relaxation, your spirit spark, your true motivation, willpower, and all of it basically. I have a set of questions, and I'd love to talk with somebody who loves to self-explore and wants to know more and wants to get this instructions manual to oneself, because I can now combine 2 tools, I can even 3. I can combine numerology, astrology, and some energy reading together in one. And it will be interesting if I can blend it all into one with somebody who is very self-conscious. So I'll really appreciate if we can work on this together. And finally, the last one, because I really want to address this, because most of us, we are in the West, in the individualistic minded West, not Eastern minded, not Asian minded, not collective minded West. And I just want to cite a beautiful Russian rocket scientist about the power of the collective. So this is Konstantin Tsiolkovsky. So he basically is the rocket scientist and pioneer of astronauts. And he talks about how we amplify each other when we come together. It's just a reminder. Only those who learn to unite will enter the golden age. So all of this is his citation. And unity has its own law. If people are like-minded, on the same wave, directed towards one goal, they amplify each other's power. 2 people amplify each other 7 times. 3 people amplify each other 7 by 7, which is 49 times. 4 people, they amplify each other 7 by 7, which is 343 times. Therefore, the more people, the more valuable each next one, as they multiply their strength many times. The collective is a great force. This was the main part of my presentation today, and I'm so glad that I'm able to share all of this with the like-minded people. And I want to make a couple of exciting announcements before we finish. First of all, I want to remind you that we've created and opened online discounted Mind Mirror shop. So this is for those who only dreaming about the mind mirror, who need accessories, or who would like maybe no longer interested. Let's hope you are not amongst those and you want to sell yours. So you might be doing good to somebody else who needs a backup, for example. So here is a link to the page, and all the links and presentation I always share after in the follow-up email with the video recording. And then we agreed with Judith that for those who has Mind Mirror sitting in the box, probably has been having Mind Mirror in the box for a long time, this could be a Kickstarter or a refresher course, just around 4 online meetings to help you with the very first steps. It will be simple, very basic, and with a human touch, because we do have all free new users video, introductory videos. But if you would like somebody else to take your hand and kind of guide you through it, not just the dead video on the other end, it's a real person. So you're very welcome to join. The announcement will come out as soon as we agree on the dates, and Judith kindly promise to back me up in case there will be difficult questions that I'm unable to answer. So there we go. Thank you so much for being with me. I'll stop sharing the presentation, and any questions are welcome. I'm trying to undo this share, and for some reason I can't get back here. Yes, you can ask. I'm with you. Anyway, I'm with you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Bjorn. I'm calling in from Stockholm, Sweden. So I love this community where it's basically around the globe. I don't know where all of you guys are, but I'm honored to meet you. And I just had a little question on what you mentioned in the end, like was it like a study or something where you wanted to have guinea pigs, or can you just elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, yes. So my plan is, because I have so much information running through my mind in the moment, and when the school teaches you, they give you, how to say, very black and white sometimes picture, or very strict guidelines to start with. And what I want to see how I can blend all my knowledge into one to make sure that individual or someone, it's like it was my dream to have instructions manual for myself or for my husband or for my child, right? Nobody ever provides us with this instructions manual when we come into this earthly world explaining, hey, you are the spirit, you will be dressed in this earthly biological material, you have to deal with certain limitations, there are certain rules of functioning on this earthly realm. You know nothing. You're just thrown into it. Your parents know next to nothing too. Usually full of, they did their best, right? Let's be honest. They did their best. They gave you life.
Yeah.
You survived. You are there healthy and trying to be happy, hopefully happy at times. But still, there's lots of information missing. And until I reached this stage, when I started understanding more about myself, because that's how we train, numerology, astrology, I looked at myself thinking, oh my God, half of my life I was like a blind kitten, copying somebody else, trying to be somebody else, not knowing even what I want, chasing the most kind of flashing scenario I seen around as I was growing up as a teenager. So all these like random collection of ideas, but really I didn't have this connection with myself. I didn't know my true nature. I didn't know where I'm supposed to head, and I didn't know where my most life events will gravitate towards, and my life scenarios will likely be what they would likely be like, right? And certain things came as a nice surprise, because I learned that like I was gravitating towards migration to another country, as if I knew I have to go elsewhere because it's my destiny in a way, right? And I always felt like, why others don't feel it? I feel it clearly. I have to go somewhere. And that worked out eventually. And now I can see it. Oh, yeah, it's here, this sign. So it's like reading these codes or reading these signs. It's like other, I don't know, the codes that program our lives, the codes that program our nature. And again, what I was trying to say, interview. So I have a set of questions I want to go through for some, I can't go through completely for no money. Just some donation type format, but I would love somebody who would like to explore oneself deeply to provide me fair and honest feedback, because it's two-way process. I'm quite good at tuning in and reading in general. That's why even looking at numbers and charts, I go beyond that. I start picking information just through these codes as well. So it would be interesting for me to test myself and learn myself while cooperating with somebody who is honest and open and ready to think and ponder and also process the information that I will give. So it's a mutual process where we can work together to figure out what is you and what would be your ideal instruction manual, as well as we can do it for your family members as well.
Okay. Sign me up.
So Bjorn, I'll send an email with all the links that I mentioned today. There will be presentation slides as well. I'm still disappointed that I can't go back, so let's leave it there then. I'm very thankful for your attention, for your presence today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new. So if you come up with some later thoughts, you're very welcome to email me. And let's stay in touch. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Oksana.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.